Think you're escaping reality when you dive into fantasy? Cute, but no. You're just signing up for extra reality, with swords, spells, and suspiciously familiar political problems. These magical worlds, they've still got class struggles, corrupt leadership, militarized borders, and a lot of people pretending the system works just fine while wearing velvet cloaks. Fantasy isn't a getaway, it's a mirror, with better costumes and worse survival rates. Let's break down what your favorite fantasy lands are really teaching you about power, belief, and why every utopia comes with an unpaid army of peasants. Theocracy in disguise. Let's start with Narnia. Land of talking beavers, eternal winter, and a political structure that makes zero sense under scrutiny. The system, divine monarchy, aka, God said you're in charge, so that's that. The Pevensey kids get crowned after doing some light adventuring. But it's all technically just Aslan's show. Even when they rule, they're basically royal interns, because at any moment, a massive lion might show up and tell them to leave. No elections, no checks and balances, just vibes, prophecy, and a lion who talks like your pastor with a sword. Real-world parallel, faith-based monarchies, governments where moral authority replaces accountability. If the king is chosen by God, who's going to argue with that? Spoiler, not you. Psychology check. Humans crave certainty. If we believe someone has divine backing, we're more likely to accept their rule, even if we're being taxed by a beaver council and forced to fight a witch with zero combat training. Fantasy just puts better branding on it. Theocracy isn't dead. It just wears a mane and roars in British. The game of power. Now let's talk Westeros, where power is a game, and most of the players die horribly. The system? Feudal monarchy. Dynasty-based. Game of nepotism. Special edition. You win by birthright, backstabbing, or being slightly less terrible than the other guy. The crown might seem like the prize, but the real power lives in family names, wealth, and who you can manipulate with a carefully timed wedding. Real-world parallel? This is generational wealth and elite power consolidation. The Lannisters are basically a medieval version of billionaires with political influence, private armies, and bad haircuts. The more centralized the power, the more unstable the throne. That's why Westeros goes through more kings than a Vegas Elvis convention. Psych tip. In high-threat environments, people don't look to rise. They look to survive. Trust no one. Form alliances. Hide the poison. Westeros doesn't pretend to be fair. It just hands you a sword and says, good luck. Bureaucracy with magic. Hogwarts. The only school where getting detention can result in actual scarring. On the surface, a magical boarding school. Underneath, a bureaucratic nightmare. The system? Top-down authority run by powerful wizards who live forever and somehow still can't fix the bathrooms. And the Ministry of Magic? Slow, corrupt, obsessed with appearances. Basically a magical DMV with worse customer service and more fascism. Enter Dolores Umbridge, the pinkest face of authoritarian micromanagement since that one manager who scheduled you for a 3 a.m. shift and said it was a learning opportunity. Real-world reflection. This is what happens when institutions prioritize control over competence. It's not Voldemort that ruins lives, it's policies. Psych angle, we tend to obey authority even when it's absurd, especially if it comes with tradition and robes. That's legitimacy bias, where we equate hierarchy with trustworthiness. Hogwarts is a masterclass in how systems rot from the inside, and how even magic can't save you from red tape. The myth of the good king. Let's head to Middle-earth, where evil is a glowing eyeball and the solution is to give one guy a shiny sword and a crown. System? Hereditary monarchy. Again. But this time, it's fine because Aragorn's a good dude. He's noble, humble, broods just the right amount. So, we just assume everything will work out once he takes the throne. Real-world comparison? This is the myth of the benevolent ruler. The idea that if we can just find the right leader, we don't need to change the system. We love it because it lets us stay passive. Let them fix it. We'll be over here, drinking mead and waiting for peace. Psychology time, it's called savior worship. When people feel powerless, they look for a hero instead of a plan. It's easier to believe in one exceptional leader than to trust in messy collective responsibility. But even Aragorn can't fix inequality with charisma and a cool sword. He's just another guy in charge, with better lighting. Why fantasy politics feels so familiar? In the end, fantasy doesn't escape politics, it mirrors it. The power structures are different in name, but the questions are always the same. Who gets to rule? Who gets left behind? Who profits from destiny? And what happens when it all falls apart? Fantasy worlds let us process complex, painful truths from a safe distance. They give us dragons, magic, quests, but also injustice, corruption, and systems that chew people up. Because maybe the real magic trick is realizing we're still in the story, and we've still got choices to make. Drop your favorite fantasy world in the comments, and tell me what political mess it reminds you of. Is Narnia a cult? Is Hogwarts an OSHA violation? Is Westeros just Earth but spicy? Smash that like button if your brain feels 12% nerdier but 30% wiser. And hit subscribe if you're into ideas that stick. Figures that sketch. Ready for your next system update? Tap here and let's keep playing smart.